Hey everyone, I'm Ian McOverdressed of Fashion for Life, and today I'm bringing you the fifth, I believe, installment of the Lifting for Life Q&A series in which I take your questions and answer them on video in under 5 minutes. And today's video is actually going to be under 5 minutes, unlike the last one. Today's question comes from a couple of people on Snapchat. By the way, if you don't follow me on Snapchat, I think you're missing out. I am biased against myself as I am hypercritical. So if you aren't, you'll probably like it even more than I do. By the way, if you're a skeptic, I was against Snapchat or very skeptical of it for about 1.5 years. Now that I have it, I really feel I was missing out. So at least give it an honest shot. Try it out for a week. Like weightlifting, I tried it for a week and then I quit, and that's why I make no gains. So the question is, should you deload when cutting? I feel this is highly context dependent, so it's kind of tough to answer the question without just saying, depends on the context. Let me know about the context and then I can answer it. My general thought is I am wary of combining an energy deficit, which can be a cause, at the very least, can be a cause of muscle loss, with a decrease in the stimulus which resulted in muscle gain in the first place, or the primary cause of that muscle gain. Now, natural and I think very reasonable objection to this is to say, okay, well, it's only a week, maybe 2 weeks. How big of a difference is it going to make? And I would say probably very little, but why risk it if there are alternatives, and there are. So 3, which I like. I'm sure there are others that people with higher IQs than mine can come up with. The first is identifying particular exercises that are causing you issues and simply deloading those. It's very often the case that it'll be just one exercise. Squats, deadlifts, bench tend to be the big ones, I think, plausibly because people push to progress on those more than they do other movements. So let's say everything is going really well except for your squats, you've been progressing and then you stall, and maybe you're even struggling to not regress. Okay, so you could deload on squats and keep everything else the same. So there isn't a need for a total deload throughout the program. Something else you could do in a similar context is, if your best judgment is that the exercise is the issue and that deloading that exercise alone would be insufficient, you can remove that exercise and replace it with something else. So it might be you're having issues with bench, maybe elbow pain. Pulling bench, and you only have it on bench, by the way. So you pull bench, you can replace that with the dumbbell press. Folks tend not to have elbow issues with dumbbell presses. Once again, you fixed the problem, or maybe you're preventing a problem right as it's beginning to occur. You're preventing it from getting worse. And once again, you don't need a full deload. You don't need to drastically reduce that stimulus and create that risk that I mentioned, even if perhaps it's a very minor risk. You can also write a totally new program. I actually really like doing this, as I'm pretty aggressive in making changes, like with what I do and with what I have clients do. If there's a problem, instead of saying, okay, let's kind of make little changes and see if that's good enough, I like to be pretty radical. So again, it's going to depend on the context. Let's say you feel you do need kind of a full deload. You have like your shoulder, you feel you've done too much work for your shoulder girdle. By the way, your knees hurt and you're getting lower back pain. But you could accommodate all of this with a large revision of the whole program. Really exercise selection I'm thinking here, but also your split you could change. For example, I felt I was getting an overuse injury in my lats, so I decreased upper body training frequency, but I didn't really deload. So, two contexts in which I could see deloads happening. One is, I really like combining deloads with diet breaks. It addresses that kind of mechanistic issue I raised, but it deals with all of the major problematic components of dieting simultaneously. So let's say you have someone who's really at like 95% of their capacity, and if you keep pushing, they're just going to hit a wall. Maybe they're going to binge like crazy. They're just not going to be able to recover. So you have them deload and take a diet break. And psychologically, this is great for a lot of people because bodybuilders tend to be very rigid and black and white. So you turn the switch off, everything, and then back on. Now, a context in which I would just say, all right, do a deload during a cut is if fat loss is just such a priority, it doesn't matter. So maybe you have someone who's very muscular and they don't really care if they lose more muscle, or sparing as much muscle as possible just isn't particularly important to them, in which case you might say, okay, you deload, you have them keep dieting, maybe they're going to lose 15 grams more muscle or something like this. It isn't that big a deal. So again, very context dependent. I'm not defending any particular view here. So you need to be cognizant of the context in which you're operating. Use your own best judgment as to what's appropriate there, rather than there being one blanket recommendation that is appropriate for everyone. And that's a super, super important general principle to be cognizant of. I think I've said cognizant 3 times in this video. Context. Something which is completely fucking moronic in one context might be perfect in another. That's a good place to end it. By the way, if you are a lurker, if you're someone who watches videos, whether it's mine or other extremely intelligent... I was going to make a reference to a YouTuber who isn't an intelligent person and then a self-deprecating humor, but I don't want to make fun of other people. Comment below. I'm calling you out. Let's see a comment. When and why did you start watching my videos? I'm curious. So there's the video. Like it if you liked it. Dislike it if you disliked it. If you disliked it, tell me why you did. Questions for future videos, you can ask me here, Facebook. It's going to say here, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram. You can email me. All the information is below. Thank you so much. I'll see you probably tomorrow. Okay, peace out, bye.